zijn geneigd om deze vrijheid onlosmakelijk te koppelen aan de internationale politiek en oorlogsstrijd. Maar ware vrijheid begint bij een klein, concrete datum. Gewoon hier, dicht bij huis, in ons eigen dorp, in onze eigen omgeving. Met daden om conflicten, groot of klein, te voorkomen of met wederzijds respect op te lossen. Want wie durft erop te staan bij onrecht? Wie durft tegen de stroom in te gaan? Vaak zonder het te merken worden we vaak voor de keuze gesteld. Sta ik op of blijf ik zitten? Een kind dat op school wordt gepest met die ene klasgenoot die voor hem opkomt. Wel of niet meelachen. Of een ongepaste grap. Mensen die onbaatzuchtig voor anderen opkomen. Natuurlijk zijn deze voorbeelden niet vergelijkbaar met de keuze die de helden zo'n 80 jaar geleden hebben gemaakt. Die voor onze vrijheid vandaag zorgden. Maar ze zetten ons wel aan het denken. Wat zou ik doen? Sta ik op of blijf ik zitten? Het doet mij goed om ook vandaag weer veel mensen te zien bij deze herdenking. Want jullie geven vrijheid door. Jullie vertellen straks de verhalen door aan de volgende generatie. Als we straks samen stil zijn, zijn we dat ter wille van de vrijheid die van ons samen is, die kwetsbaar is en toch één en ondeelbaar is. Het doet er niet toe waar je vandaan komt. Het doet er niet toe wie je bent of wat je bent. We zijn hier voor één zaak. We willen samenleven in ons land in vrijheid en geborgenheid. Dank u wel.
Good afternoon, ladies, gentlemen. I am Warrant Officer Erik Jansen and will be the host for the remainder of this ceremony. I would now like to invite Mayor Teunissen to come forward to recite the exhortation. Sir.
They shall grow not old, as we that are left grow old. Age shall not weary them, not the years condemn. And at the going down of the sun and in the morning, we will remember them.
Thank you, sir. Next, the trumpet player will sound the signal last post, after which we all will be silent for 2 minutes in honor of the fallen, followed by the signal Reveille. All following commands, also for the guild, will be in Dutch. All military here on my command. Het geel geeft 8. Presenteer vaandels. Brengt ere. Goed. Mr. Van der Lee, last post, please. Mr. Van der Lee, signal the rally, please. Inhouding. Staat. Zet af. Vaandels. Op de plaats. Rust. Rust. Miss Naomi McVeigh and Mrs. Helen McVeigh, great-granddaughter and granddaughter of Irish Guards Lance Corporal George Gilmore, will now recite the Kohima epitaph. Please both come forward.
When you go home, tell them of us and say,
for your tomorrow, we give our today.
Thank you very much. The next part of the ceremony is the laying of a number of wreaths by associations or individuals. Please act immediately after you have been mentioned by me. To start, the municipality of Gennep. Sir. His Excellency, the Deputy Ambassador. The Royal British Legion Holland Branch, Mr. Paul Hilferink. The Royal Canadian Legion Branch 005, Mr. Gerrit Brugink. The 4th of May Committee, Mrs. Betrukenwijn and Mr. Henk Vervoort. the relatives of the fallen. Thank you all. Mr. Poltenbroeke, may I invite you to the presentation of Faces to the Graves, please.
Dear families of Thomas Graham, George Gilmore, Robert McGurn, and John Ferguson. What's your tomorrow? Over the past 80 years, Western Europe has experienced freedom and prosperity. It hasn't always been easy for everyone, but one can be free. This freedom sometimes comes with limits to protect the freedom of others. These men amongst us gave their lives 80 years ago because Europe was not free. People who didn't fit in the vision of the regime were taken away and murdered. People lived in fear and of expressing themselves. People wondered what would happen to their children and loved ones. These men and many others who made it home ensured that we have what we have now. It's our tomorrow. When I visit the cemetery, like on a school day, like I did last Thursday, we heard the school children from the primary school. We heard their voices shouting over the cemetery. Those children live without a fear. They are free from it. They have parents who can provide food on the table. They can go to school to learn new things, with caring teachers providing those new knowledge for them. Those children can be whatever they wish to be. That is also our tomorrow. When I visited the cemetery 15 years ago, I had no clue about the war history of Gennep. I started to take photos of the headstones. I read the dates, I read the names, and the personal text which are on the bottom of the headstones. At this cemetery, I met a person who influenced me a lot. Mrs. Thijssen said to me, because every mother would wish that her son's grave would be visited. That was her aim, why she kept on visiting the grave she adopted in 1948 and was still did until her death a few years ago. And that's what we are doing now. We are visiting the graves because other mothers and fathers are not able to do so. Over the years, we read out the names during our 4th of May Remembrance service. Then later on, we started to collect the stories and shared them on Facebook, during readings in books and magazines. About 2 years ago, Roel and I decided to take it a step further. Like with some other war cemeteries, we like to show the faces of the men who gave their todays. With great steadfastness, Roel contacted many Facebook groups and all the people who had access to archives. With a lot of help from others, amongst them the Miss Marples and Tracy van Oefelen, we can now show you 92 faces in Milsbeek, and also 6 in Ottersum. And also because we don't want to forget the Dutch soldiers who gave their lives for Queen and country, we also have the photos of the 4 Dutch war graves in our municipality. But for some local families, we can't imagine what it's like to lose a family member in war. We can't imagine the loss and grief. And we will do our utmost best to ease that grief by researching the situation your loved ones fell in, reading out their names during ceremonies, lighting candles on Christmas Eve, and placing their faces at their graves. We will do our utmost to pass on these stories to future generations. We will do our utmost to visit these graves even when you are not able to anymore. We will assure you that the people of the Gennep municipality and the Milsbeek community will pass on that legacy. It might not fill the gap you might feel. It will not bring back your man, but it will fulfill a desire that every mother would wish that the grave of her son will be visited. Today is the first presentation of these photos. Tomorrow you can also see these photos on the headstones, and it will be presented again at every February and 4th of May remembrance service. To mark this important presentation, I will present the first photo to the family of Robert McGurn, an 80-year-old private who fell during the fighting at Kanonskamp, which is a part of Milsbeek now. It's a few hundred meters away from here. Lest we forget.
The national anthems of the United Kingdom and the Netherlands will be played. All military again, here on my commands. Het geheel geeft 8. Presenteer vaandels. Brengt ere goed. The national anthem of the United Kingdom. The national anthem of the Netherlands. In de houding. Staat. Zet af. Vaandels. Op de plaats. Rust. Rust. This brings us to the end of this ceremony. I would like to thank you all very much for your presence and your interest in this ceremony. Have a safe trip home. On behalf of the organization, I would like to invite the guests for another cup of coffee at Het Trefpunt. This is the building where we started, well, an hour ago. Thank you very much. We leave this field of honor now. Thank you.